Welcome to Chapter 2 of my book, The A to Z of Alcohol and Sobriety, Everything You Need to Know. And today we're on the B's, which is going to cover things such as belonging, boundaries, and breathing exercises. BAL, blood alcohol levels. It's the amount of alcohol that there is in our bloodstream. It is only now that I stop to ask myself, if there is lots of alcohol in our blood, what is happening to the rest of our blood components that should be flowing freely around our bodies? Alcohol has a big impact on our blood cells, including causing our red blood cells to gather closely together, blocking our blood vessels, and stopping blood getting to our tissues and our organs. Our red blood cells carry oxygen. This clumping together means they cannot carry oxygen freely around our body to our brain, which can cause us to pass out. Beautiful. This is you. With sobriety, we start to see the beauty in everything, even ourselves. It doesn't come straight away, and it doesn't come naturally. We have to work through a whole lot of ugliness to get there. But remember that old saying, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Give yourself and others a chance. Behaviour. Ever done something drunk that you wouldn't dream of doing sober? Freud was a neurologist in the 19th and 20th centuries who created the theory of the id, the little part of our brain that wants it now, and the only part of our personality that he says is there from birth. It's how babies make their needs known and met. Fortunately, we develop what is called the ego and the superego, which keep the id in check and our behaviours more socially acceptable. They are the middlemen between our id and the world and make us show up as sensible human beings. Guess what happens to the egos when we anaesthetise them? How I love waking up now and remembering everything that I did the night before, not frantically checking my phone and Facebook to see what I've said, who I've called, and what I've texted. When we drink, we tend to tell others what we think and blame them for all of our woes. But no one else can make us feel or behave in a certain way. No one. Only we have the control over how we respond. Being. As John Lennon famously said, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. How much do we miss out on by thinking about the past and the future, drinking, and not being present in the moment? Just being is a wonderful place to be. I find meditation hard. I struggle to focus for long, yet several times a day I notice myself being everywhere else but in the moment. And that's the trick. Just catching yourself, taking a breath, and just being. Even for a split second. Just be. Believe. If we believe that we can achieve and want it enough, then we will be more likely to succeed. Alcohol fills us with confidence at first and makes us think that we can do anything. And then it fills us with self-doubt, self-loathing, anxiety, and leaves us feeling worthless and hopeless. Our addict voice will want to keep on telling us these things. As well as our own inner voice, other people's voices may try to sabotage our decision to quit. It happened to me, and I allowed it to delay my quitting for a year. I now realise if others agreed that I had a problem, they would have to admit that they had a problem too, and lose their drinking buddy. If we believe quitting is possible, then we can do it. Millions of people have proved it is possible and discovered how wonderful sobriety is. They are the best people to get support from. Find a sober community to help support, encourage you to hold the belief for you at times when you doubt yourself. Post, read, connect, reach out. The I Am Sober app is the community that helped me. Belonging. This is something I've struggled with my whole life. I always felt on the outside, the odd one out. I took my first ever puff of a cigarette and a drink of a snowball or eggnog to be like everyone else, fit in and belong. My drinking career began at 14 for this very reason, yet I never really felt I belonged anywhere until I got sober and found a community and friends who fully accept me for who I am, who understand and get it, and realise how many good friends I've always had in my life. And then I heard Brené Brown saying, belonging is being your authentic self, not changing to please others. If only I'd known that sooner. That was so freeing. But I am still working on writing my own story. Beriberi disease is caused by thiamine, vitamin B1 deficiency, one of those nutrients that alcohol knocks out. There are two types. Wet, causing issues with the heart, circulation and body organs, leading to pain, confusion, loss of muscle function and sensation, difficulty with walking and talking. And dry, which affects the nervous system, causing a fast heartbeat, feeling breathless and swollen legs. Hold on a minute. That sounds familiar. Left untreated, it can also lead to Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome. If we stop drinking, start eating, and take B vitamins, then we will be on a much healthier path. Best. Are you doing your best? Then that is good enough. No matter where we are on our journey, our best is all we can ask and hope for. And this would change day to day. Binge drinking. Many of us think we do not have a problem with alcohol, as we do not drink every day. The occasional bender is okay, right? But the very fact that we cannot stop once we start says that there is an issue. And if we do it every weekend, we are just about getting back to a place of mental and physical balance when we go and do it all again. Binge drinking is drinking a lot of alcohol in one go. How many drinks do you think this is? You will be shocked. The answer will be revealed under units. Bite-sized pieces. It helps so much if you can break tasks down, even our sobriety plan. When we see everything that needs to be done, it can be completely overwhelming, like never drinking again. AA's saying is one day at a time for a very good reason. We only ever have this moment, but we are great at causing ourselves stress by thinking ahead, looking back, and missing the now. The important thing is not to set ourselves up to fail or give ourselves so much to do that we avoid the task completely and then beat ourselves up whilst running around on yet another hamster wheel. If tidying and cleaning the house seems too much, just start with a room. If a room is too much, start with a cupboard. If a cupboard is too much, start with a drawer. If a drawer is too much, just start with the corner. Blackout. I love my blackout curtains. They really do help me to get a good night's sleep, unlike the blackouts my brain and body had when I was drinking. When we black out with alcohol, we become our own darkness and cannot remember what we have done. Alcohol interferes with one of our memory chemicals called glutamate and stops our brain from being able to store our memories. We are still awake and moving, we just cannot remember. Heavy amounts of alcohol can reduce the blood and oxygen supply to our brain and the way our cells communicate with each other, and could cause us to physically black out or faint. Many of us will then drift into a fitful sleep. Some of us will not wake up again. Don't become another statistic. Blame. If we can try not to play the blame game, then it really does help. Our actions are ours. Other people's actions are theirs. Sometimes actions have no rhyme nor reason. We cannot change it. but we can accept that only we have control over our response. We can feel free and happy again. Blame leads to anger, hurt, and upset, and we will mostly never know why anyone did what they did. Very often, we don't even know ourselves. Blind. When we get sober, we realise how blind we have been. But it doesn't help to beat ourselves up about this. The wall was pulled over our eyes for years by those convincing us of the fun and joy of drinking, whilst laughing all the way to the bank with our money. Getting sober is like getting a new pair of glasses or polishing the lenses, and everything becomes clearer. Bloating. There are many reasons our tummy can bloat. Eating too quickly, food intolerances, menstruation and pregnancy, irritable bowel and bowel diseases, eating, drinking fatty, gassy or high fibre foods and drinks, especially alcohol, and dehydration. But bloating could be a sign of something more serious, caused by increased fluid in our tummy lining. This is generally due to liver damage, cirrhosis, cancer or injury, causing the fluids from our blood to leak into our body tissue. Other causes are cancer of the stomach, bowel, ovaries and pancreas, inflammation of the pancreas, kidney disease, and heart failure. As you listen to this book more, you will see alcohol can and does cause all of these illnesses. Blood is made up of a fluid called plasma, red blood cells that contain iron to enable them to carry oxygen around our body, and white blood cells that fight off infection and stop the flow of blood when we are bleeding. It is pumped around the body by our heart, taking oxygen and nutrients to every part of us and helping our body to get rid of all those things that we no longer need. It does this by a network of blood vessels, our arteries, capillaries and veins. Alcohol can reduce the amount, shape and size of the blood cells that our bodies make, leading to low iron and oxygen levels, infection, bruising and bleeding, and in some cases a stroke or a bleed on the brain. Body. No matter what our beliefs, our body is what we have from the beginning of this life journey until the end. It is basically made of fat, water, cells, tissues and bones, all working together through electrical impulses and chemical reactions. Imagine all those components in a test tube. I wonder what would happen if we poured alcohol over it. As it happens, I know just the person to ask. An experiment we do at school is to put raw liver into a beaker at the beginning of the lesson and cover it with ethanol. By the end of the lesson, the liver is cooked. It was Houndless told me that. Boredom. I thought it was a few months in when I discovered this was a trigger for me, but on looking back through my Am Sober posts, I discovered it was only 2 weeks. On this journey, we discover triggers we didn't know were there. It helps to plan for the unexpected and be ready to step in with acceptance, curiosity, and distraction. One of the hardest but best things I had to do was to learn to be with me. I have no time for boredom nowadays, and I actually look forward to time alone. Boring. This is the response some people give when we say we don't drink. Before my partner started chemo, his consultant and nurse encouraged him to have one last blast on the drink. He told the nurse it wasn't an issue, as he wasn't particularly bothered, and that I didn't drink anyway. Her response was, boring. Mine was, not at all. I'm 7 months sober and I've never had so much fun. And this is the absolute truth. There is absolutely nothing boring about not sitting on the settee every night, half watching TV, and then falling asleep there or on the bathroom floor. Get your response ready. Boundaries. I'm still working on this one. We set boundaries only for others to push back or to ignore them completely. This is human nature. I used to think it was easier to give in and let go because I couldn't be bothered to argue. but I actually got angry and disheartened by the lack of respect and my own weakness for not standing my ground, and then I would drink to numb those feelings. While getting sober, I really have had to grow up, take lots of deep breaths, stand my ground, and fight off the urge to run and hide like a frightened little girl. I'm aware that I also give in because I feel sorry for others, want to save them from their emotions and myself from having to cope with any friction. I now know that feelings are okay and that others can manage theirs all by themselves. I cannot save the world, and I'm now laughing at my inflated ego for thinking that I can. Giving in is not helpful or respectful to others, and it sends mixed messages. The anger and frustration still come when I'm ignored and boundaries are pushed, but I don't drink. I accept it and then do something about the cause. Someone recently said to me, when it comes to boundaries, you have to treat everyone as you would a child. You have to keep on repeating until it sticks. Brain, our control center for everything. It interprets everything we see, hear, feel, smell, and touch. It keeps our heart beating and our lungs breathing and everything working as it should be. It is made up of cells known as neurons, which communicate with each other to send and receive messages to and from every part of our body. Our brain is 60% fat, and its main period of development takes place in the last 3 months of pregnancy until we are 24 years old. Alcohol can stop this and actually shrinks and kills off part of the brain, changing our physical and emotional reactions. It may not be obvious at first, but just think about how all our senses and our logic change when we are drinking. Continue and the long-term damage will be done. It is for this very reason that withdrawal can feel so rough, and for some the delirium tremens will occur. Omega-3 may help to restore some of the fats we have destroyed with alcohol, and vitamin B12 and a strong vitamin B compound are often prescribed to help restore our neural pathways. For some, it will be too little, too late. Brain plasticity or neuroplasticity. The good news: we can repair and rewire our brain and our nervous system, and this will be the case for most of us. The growth of the brain, its neurons, and the nervous system is how a child learns to walk, talk, and eat, etc. It was originally thought that these systems then stopped developing and went into decline, but we now know that we have the power to retrain our neural pathway both physically and emotionally. Repeated actions become habits. We just have to change the habit to make a new one. For a fantastic podcast on this, I can thoroughly recommend to listen to or reading an article by Todd Crafter at sobertownpodcast.com. If it fires together, it wires together. It completely changed my life. Breakdowns. In communication, the brain, body, mind, and life in general. They happen, but for me it helps to repeat my affirmations that from every breakdown there is a breakthrough, and to trust in and learn from the process. If we can accept what is, we will move through it quickly and it will be less painful. To resist leads to pain, anxiety, anger, and upset, and the breakthroughs are wonderful. Breathing is life. It controls so much, both physically and emotionally. It keeps all our chemicals balanced in our body, leading to wellness and calm. Our breath is something we tend to hold when we are in physical or emotional pain, leading to changes in our blood pressure and oxygen levels, and makes us feel quite unwell, especially if we then start to hyperventilate and panic. Breathing is an automatic thing, but it's something we all need to learn to do effectively. Breathing exercises are great to practice for daily calm, health, and well-being. The more we practice them, the more automatic they become for us to use when we really need them. My favourite is abdominal breathing, great for anxiety, panic, getting in the zone, and those breathing difficulties due to physical illness. For a great example of what we are trying to achieve, watch how a baby breathes. It is actually our natural breathing rhythm, but we get out of practice. Sit or lay with one hand on your chest and one hand on your tummy, and just breathe normally. Close your eyes and just notice what is happening to your hands as you breathe in and out. When are they moving up and down? The aim of abdominal breathing is for our tummy hand to move and our chest one to be still. Breathe in and out through your nose if you can, but it doesn't matter if you can't. And with each in-breath, focus on filling your tummy with air, pushing your hand out, and then emptying it so your hand comes back in. Take slow, steady breaths. It doesn't matter how long for, or if you have gaps in between your in and out breaths. Just make them calm and regular. I find that focusing on counting and holding for so many seconds puts more pressure on us. We are all individuals, and the more we practice this, the longer our breaths and gaps will become, to a pace that helps us to relax. Practice this whenever you can, for as long as you can, and use it whenever you get the first signs of anxiety, panic or pain. Relax into it and just breathe, slow and steady. Breathing issues. I did not know that alcohol affects breathing until my good friend and sober sister Polly A advised me of this. She noticed her breathing issues improved when she stopped drinking and looked into this more. As you will see under blood alcohol level, alcohol impacts on our blood flow and oxygen levels in our blood and our body. It is therefore now obvious to me that this will and does affect our breathing. Once we know the truth, it all slots into place. Brewing is basically soaking cereal grains in water with yeast and letting them fester and rot, more conservatively known as fermentation. Buddha was born Siddhartha Gautama over 2,500 years ago in India. He was a prince who left the palace and all his worldly goods to try and find an ending to all the suffering that he saw all around him. He discovered that the solution was inside of us all, that we can all be happy and find true enlightenment if we tune in and change our way of thinking and behaving. I will mention some of his teachings in this book as they are tried and tested ways of training our mind to gradually find inner peace. A Buddha is someone who has achieved enlightenment, is free from suffering, experiences joy, pleasure, and permanent inner peace. Buddhism. There are many different types around the world, but all practice the teachings of the Buddha. Buddhism is not a religion. It is more a spiritual way of being, of change, compassion, transformations, and inner peace. Practices include meditation, metta, and mindfulness. Burdens. A bottle of alcohol may seem light, but addiction is the biggest burden that you will ever carry. The lies, deceit, anxiety, fear, secrecy, guilt, regret, remorse, insomnia, headaches, depression, anger, frustration, pain, and illness. And then we drink some more to block it all out. And it gets heavier and heavier with each waking hour, until we wish we could just sleep forever. If only I'd known sooner that by putting that bottle down and working just as hard at sobriety, my life could have been so much more happier and lighter. I can't go back, but I can go forwards, and today I am light and free. Bus. Who's driving yours? Does this idea sound weird? This metaphor really resonated with me during ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy. Imagine our life being a bus, and we are the driver. The passengers on the bus are people, thoughts, feelings, beliefs, etc., that we collect in our journey through life and can influence our direction of travel. But one of the profound realizations that I had was that I wasn't driving my bus. Other people were. And because of this, I drank. I made more of a conscious effort to take back the wheel, but it was half-hearted until I quit drinking. Now my hands are firmly on my wheel. Others may try to stop me and even eject me from my seat, but I'm heading in my own direction now and choosing my own route. Who's in control of your bus? Remember, it's only us who can allow others into our driving seat. B vitamins are essential for our nerves, heart, and blood and help us change food and air into energy. They also help our bodies process alcohol and are one of the first vitamins to be killed off with regular drinking, causing depression, anemia, confusion, and damage to our nervous system. Most of us who have been drinking for a while are lacking in vitamin B due to alcohol and poor diet. Vitamin B1 and a strong B compound are one of the frontline treatments in clinical settings for alcohol addiction. Research has shown that 80% of heavy drinkers, that's for just 14 units a week for women and 28 a week for men, do not have enough vitamin B1, thiamine, which is vital for our brain and nervous system. Lack of this can lead to brain injury, dementia, Wernicke-Korsakoff syndrome, and beriberi disease. Lack of B12 can also cause damage to our brain and nervous systems and mental health issues such as depression and paranoia. Vitamin B is found in meat, poultry, and beans and is usually added to bread, pasta, and cereal. But I would always recommend you speak to your doctor about this, as you are more likely to need more than just food can provide.